Story 1. I've been working at the public library for about 3 years now. Started right after college when I couldn't find anything in my field. What began as a temporary job actually became something I love. I help people find books, teach computer classes to seniors, and run the children's reading programs. It's not glamorous, but it's rewarding. The library serves a pretty diverse community. We get everyone from college students cramming for exams to homeless folks seeking shelter from the weather. Most people are respectful, but you always get a few who think the rules don't apply to them. That Tuesday started like any other. I was at the front desk helping patrons check out books when she walked in. Middle-aged woman, expensive handbag, that particular haircut that screams, "I want to speak to your manager." She had this look on her face like the world owed her something. She marched straight to my desk, threw down a stack of books, and crossed her arms. "Karen, these are overdue, but I'm not paying the fees." "Me, let me check your account. What's your library card number?" She rattled off the numbers while tapping her foot impatiently. I pulled up her record and winced internally. She had 15 books, all between 2 to 4 weeks overdue. The total came to $42. Me, I see the issue. These books were due back on various dates in October, and it's now November 15th. Your total late fees are $42. "Karen, that's ridiculous. I refuse to pay that." "Me? I understand it seems like a lot, but our policy is clearly posted. Late fees help ensure books are returned on time so other patrons can enjoy them too." "Karen, I don't care about your policy. I'm a taxpayer. I pay your salary. Waive the fees." I could feel other patrons starting to stare. The library was pretty busy that afternoon, lots of students studying for finals, parents with kids at the computer stations, elderly folks reading newspapers. "Me, I'm sorry, but I don't have the authority to waive fees of this amount. I can speak with my supervisor when she returns from lunch in about 20 minutes. "Karen, no, I want this fixed now. Call someone else." "Me, the head librarian is in a meeting, and she's the only one who can approve fee waivers over $20. This was getting uncomfortable. Karen was raising her voice, and I noticed parents starting to move their children away from our area. "Karen, this is unacceptable. Do you know who I am?" "Me, ma'am, I'm trying to help you, but I need you to lower your voice. This is a library, and you're disturbing other patrons." "Karen, don't you dare tell me to lower my voice. I demand to speak to whoever is in charge right now." "Me, as I explained, the head librarian is in a meeting. If you'd like to wait, or come back later when my supervisor returns." "Karen, no, this ends now." Before I could react, she stormed away from the desk. I thought maybe she was leaving, which honestly would have been a relief. But instead, she headed toward the emergency exit near the children's section. I watched in disbelief as she walked straight to the fire alarm pull station mounted on the wall. Without hesitation, she yanked it down. The piercing alarm immediately filled the library. The automated voice system kicked in, announcing a fire emergency and instructing everyone to evacuate immediately. Chaos erupted. Parents grabbed their children. Students slammed laptops shut. Elderly patrons looked confused and frightened. Everyone started moving toward the exits in various states of panic and annoyance. I jumped over the desk and ran toward Karen, who was standing there with her arms crossed, looking satisfied. "Me, what did you just do? That's a fire alarm." "Karen, maybe now someone will take me seriously and fix my account." "Me, are you insane? You just forced an evacuation of the entire building. The fire department sirens were already wailing in the distance. Protocol required everyone to evacuate, including staff, but I couldn't just leave with her standing there." "Karen, good. When they get here, you can explain to them how your ridiculous policies caused this situation." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My supervisor came running from the back office, having heard the alarm. "Supervisor, what happened? Is there a fire?" "Me, she pulled the alarm because we wouldn't waive her late fees." My supervisor's mouth fell open. She looked at Karen, then at the pulled alarm, then back at Karen. Supervisor, ma'am, did you really pull a fire alarm over library fees? Karen, I demanded to speak to someone in charge, and your employee refused to help me. This was the only way to get attention. Supervisor, you need to leave immediately. We'll be calling the police. Karen, fine, but I'm still not paying those fees. She grabbed her purse and strutted out like she'd won some kind of victory. The fire trucks arrived within minutes. 6 firefighters in full gear stormed into the building, expecting to find smoke and flames. Instead, they found me explaining that a patron had pulled the alarm over overdue book fees. The fire chief was not amused. Neither were the police officers who showed up shortly after. Apparently, false fire alarms are taken very seriously. Who knew? They asked for security camera footage, which clearly showed Karen walking directly to the alarm and pulling it without any emergency present. They took down all her information from her library account. The best part came about an hour later, after we'd reopened and things had calmed down. My supervisor pulled me aside with a huge grin. Supervisor, I just got off the phone with the police. Karen is being charged with filing a false emergency report and disorderly conduct. The fines for those charges? Over $800. Me, seriously. Supervisor, gets better. The fire department is billing her for the false alarm response. That's another $300. I couldn't help but laugh. She'd thrown a fit over $42 in late fees and ended up with over $1,000 in real legal consequences. Karen never came back to the library. Her account remains unpaid with those same $42 in late fees, plus the replacement cost for the books she never returned. Sometimes I wonder if she learned anything from the experience, but honestly, I doubt it. People like that rarely do. Story 2. I've been working at this coffee shop for about 2 years now. It's not glamorous work, but it pays the bills while I'm finishing my degree in social work. The job taught me patience, especially dealing with difficult customers, but nothing prepared me for what happened last Tuesday. I'd been having a rough week. My car broke down on Monday, so I had to take 2 buses to get to work, which meant waking up at 5 a.m. for my 7 a.m. shift. My landlord had also raised my rent, and I was stressed about making ends meet. The coffee shop was understaffed that day because 2 of my coworkers called in sick, so I was handling both the register and making drinks. The morning rush was particularly busy. I was moving as fast as I could, taking orders and preparing drinks while trying to keep up with the growing line. That's when she walked in. She was probably in her 40s, wearing expensive clothes and carrying a designer purse. She had this look on her face like the world owed her something. She cut in front of 3 people in line, ignoring their protests. Customer 1, excuse me, we were here first. Karen, I'm in a hurry. You can wait. I watched this happen, but decided to serve her quickly to avoid a bigger scene. Sometimes it's easier to just get difficult people out the door. Me, good morning. What can I get for you? Karen, I want a large skinny vanilla latte with oat milk, extra hot, and make sure you spell my name right. It's Karen with a K. Me, of course. And your name is? Karen, I just told you. Karen, Karen. Don't mess it up. I took her order and payment, then started making her drink. The espresso machine was acting up that morning, taking longer than usual to pull shots. Meanwhile, the line kept growing, and I could feel the pressure mounting. While steaming her oat milk, I grabbed a cup and quickly wrote her name. In my rush and stress, I wrote Karen instead of Karen. It was an honest mistake. I was juggling multiple orders and trying to work as fast as possible. I finished her drink and called out her order. Me, large skinny vanilla latte for Karen. She stormed over to the pickup counter, grabbed her cup, and her face went red when she saw the spelling. Karen, this is wrong. I specifically told you Karen. Me, I'm so sorry about that. The drink is still correct though. Would you like me to make you a new cup with the right spelling? Karen, you people can't do anything right. This is unacceptable. She was getting louder, and other customers were starting to stare. I tried to stay calm. I understand you're upset. Let me fix this right away. It'll just take a second to write a new cup. I reached for her cup to transfer the drink to a new one with the correct spelling, but she pulled it away from me. Karen, don't touch it. You've already ruined my morning. That's when it happened. She raised her hand and slapped me across the face. Hard. The sound echoed through the coffee shop, and everyone went silent. My cheek stung, and I was completely shocked. In 2 years of working there, nothing like this had ever happened. I just stood there, holding my face. Customer 2, did she just hit you? Customer 3, that's assault. Someone call the police. Karen seemed to realize what she'd done, but instead of apologizing, she doubled down. Karen, maybe now you'll learn to pay attention when customers give you simple instructions. That's when my manager came out from the back office. He'd heard the commotion. Manager, what's going on here? Customer 2, this woman just slapped your employee because her name was spelled wrong on the cup. My manager looked at me, then at Karen, who was still holding her cup and looking defiant. Manager, ma'am, you need to leave immediately. I'm calling the police. Karen, you can't kick me out. I'm a paying customer. Manager, you assaulted my employee. You're banned from this store permanently. Karen, this is ridiculous. It was just a slap. She should have spelled my name correctly. By this point, several customers had their phones out recording. One woman stepped forward. Customer 4, I got the whole thing on video. This woman cut in line, then hit your employee over a spelling mistake. Karen's face went even redder when she realized she was being filmed. Karen, delete that video right now. Customer 4, no way. This is going straight to social media and the police. My manager had already called 911, and within 10 minutes, 2 police officers arrived. The customers who witnessed everything gave their statements, and the woman with the video showed it to the officers. Officer 1, ma'am, you're under arrest for assault. Karen, assault? It was barely a tap. She's being dramatic. Officer 2, any unwanted physical contact is assault, especially when witnessed by this many people. As they handcuffed her, Karen kept protesting. Karen, this is insane. I want to speak to your supervisor. I know the mayor. You can't do this to me. Officer 1, you can make your phone calls from the station. After they took her away, my manager sent me home for the day and told me to see a doctor to document any injury. The other customers were incredibly supportive. The woman who filmed everything gave me her contact information as a witness. Customer 4, I posted the video online already. It's getting thousands of views. People are calling her Slappy Karen. Customer 2, I left a review on every platform praising how you handled that situation. The next day, I found out that Karen had been fired from her job. Apparently, her company saw the viral video and decided they didn't want someone who assaults service workers representing them. She also had to pay a fine and attend anger management classes. The video got over 1 million views, and the coffee shop received hundreds of positive reviews praising how the situation was handled. My manager gave me a raise and some paid time off to recover. The best part? Karen tried to sue me and the coffee shop for emotional distress and defamation. Her lawyer dropped her as a client when they saw the video evidence. The judge dismissed her case and ordered her to pay our legal fees. Sometimes karma works exactly as it should, all over the spelling of a name on a coffee cup. Story 3. I moved into my house 3 years ago after my divorce. It was a modest 2-bedroom place with a decent-sized backyard, and the best part was this beautiful old oak tree right in the center. The tree was probably 50 years old, with thick branches that provided amazing shade during the hot summer months. I spent most of my free time under that tree, reading or just relaxing after long days at the accounting firm. My neighbor moved in about 6 months after me. She seemed normal at first, middle-aged woman, always dressed in flowy clothes and lots of crystals. She introduced herself as someone who was deeply connected to the Earth's vibrations and ran some kind of online spiritual consulting business from her home. I figured live and let live, you know? Everyone's got their thing. The problem started last spring. She began complaining that my oak tree was disrupting her energy flow because it cast shadows over her backyard in the late afternoon. At first, I thought she was joking. "Karen, your tree is really affecting my meditation practice. The shadows are blocking my chakra alignment." Me, "I'm sorry, but it's just a tree. Trees make shadows. That's kind of what they do." "Karen, you don't understand. I've consulted with my spiritual advisor, and she confirmed that your tree is creating negative energy barriers around my property." I tried to be polite and suggested she could meditate in a different part of her yard, or maybe install some of those solar lights if she needed more brightness. She wasn't having it. Over the next few weeks, she kept bringing it up. Every time I was outside watering my plants or mowing the lawn, she'd appear at the fence with a new complaint about how my tree was ruining her aura cleansing rituals or interfering with her crystal charging stations. "Karen, I'm going to have to ask you to trim that tree. It's a health hazard for my spiritual well-being." Me, "I'm not trimming a healthy tree because you think it's messing with your energy. That's not how property ownership works." "Karen, we'll see about that." I should have taken that threat more seriously. Last Tuesday, I was working from home when I heard this weird scraping sound coming from my backyard. I looked out the kitchen window and nearly choked on my coffee. This woman was in my backyard, standing under my oak tree with a pair of massive hedge clippers, actively cutting off branches. I ran outside immediately. "Me, what the hell are you doing? Get off my property right now." "Karen, I'm fixing the problem since you won't. This tree is poisoning my aura with negative shadows." "Me, you're trespassing. Put those clippers down and get out of my yard." "Karen, I have every right to protect myself from spiritual attacks. Your tree is basically assault." She kept cutting. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. This woman had climbed over my fence and was destroying my tree because she thought it was magically harming her. Me, "Stop cutting my tree. I'm calling the police." "Karen, go ahead. They'll understand once I explain how your tree is violating my religious freedom." I pulled out my phone and dialed 911 while she continued hacking away at the lower branches. The dispatcher seemed confused when I explained that my neighbor was trespassing and cutting down my tree for spiritual reasons, but they sent an officer anyway. Officer Martinez arrived about 15 minutes later. By then, she had cut off at least 6 branches and was working on a 7th. The officer looked just as bewildered as I felt. "Officer Martinez, ma'am, you need to put down those clippers and step away from the tree." "Karen, officer, this tree is creating a hostile spiritual environment. It's discriminating against my beliefs." "Officer Martinez, that's not how trees work. You're on someone else's property without permission, and you're damaging their property." "Karen, but my aura. My spiritual advisor said I have the right to defend myself against negative energy attacks." The officer looked at me, then back at her, then at the pile of branches on the ground. "Officer Martinez, ma'am, I don't know anything about auras, but I do know about trespassing and property damage. You need to come with me." She actually argued with a cop for another 10 minutes about her constitutional right to spiritual self-defense before he finally put her in handcuffs. As they walked toward his car, she turned back to me. "Karen, this isn't over. I know people in the city planning department. I'll have that tree declared a public nuisance." Me, "Good luck with that." The best part came 3 days later. I was cleaning up the fallen branches when my neighbor on the other side of her house came over to chat. Turns out, she had been calling the city about her meditation garden for months, claiming it was a religious sanctuary, so she wouldn't have to pay property taxes on that section of her yard. The city had been investigating her for tax fraud. When Officer Martinez filed his report about the tree incident, it flagged their investigation. Not only did she get charged with trespassing and property damage, but the city also hit her with back taxes and penalties for her fake sanctuary scam. She moved out 2 weeks later. The new neighbors are a nice young couple with a dog who loves playing fetch under my oak tree. Sometimes I sit out there in the afternoon, enjoying the shade and thinking about how some people really do get exactly what they deserve. Story 4. I've been working as a flight attendant for about 3 years now, and let me tell you, I've seen it all. Or at least I thought I had until last Tuesday's flight from Chicago to Miami. I got into this job because I love traveling and meeting people from different walks of life. Sure, the pay isn't great and the hours are brutal, but there's something rewarding about helping passengers have a smooth journey 30,000 feet in the air. That particular Tuesday started like any other day. I was assigned to work economy class on a packed Boeing 737. We were already running behind schedule due to some maintenance issues, which meant everyone was a bit on edge. I was doing my usual pre-flight checks when I noticed a woman in her 40s wearing what looked like expensive jewelry and designer clothes, sitting in seat 23C. She kept looking around with this disgusted expression, like the plane personally offended her. About 20 minutes before takeoff, she pressed her call button. I walked over with my usual smile. "Me, how can I help you today?" "Karen, I need to be moved to first class immediately." "Me, I'm sorry, but we're completely booked today. Is there something wrong with your current seat?" "Karen, something wrong. Everything's wrong. I specifically requested first class when I booked this flight online. Your website must have malfunctioned." I checked my tablet to look up her reservation. Her ticket clearly showed economy class, and there was no record of any upgrade requests. "Me, ma'am, according to our system, you purchased an economy ticket. We do have a wait list for upgrades, but unfortunately, first class is full today." "Karen, that's impossible. I always fly first class. I demand to speak to whoever's in charge." "Me, I am the senior flight attendant for this section. If you'd like, I can have you speak with a captain after we're airborne. But right now we need everyone seated so we can take off." Her face was getting redder by the minute. Other passengers were starting to stare, and I could see my colleague giving me concerned looks from across the aisle. "Karen, do you know who I am? My husband is a lawyer, and we will sue this airline into the ground if you don't fix this right now." "Me, I understand your frustration, ma'am, but I can only work with the seats that are available. Would you like me to check if we have any emergency exit row seats available? They have more legroom." "Karen, I don't want more legroom. I want first class. I want the service I paid for." At this point, I could hear the captain making announcements about preparing for departure. I needed to get this situation under control quickly. "Me, ma'am, I've checked your ticket again, and you did purchase economy class. If there was an error on our website, we can certainly look into that after the flight. But right now I need you to remain seated so we can safely take off." That's when she completely lost it. She stood up so fast that she knocked her purse onto the floor. "Karen, you're calling me a liar? How dare you? I've been flying for longer than you've been alive, you little brat." The whole plane was watching now. I could feel my heart racing, but I tried to keep my voice calm and professional. "Me, I'm not calling you anything, ma'am. I'm just explaining what our computer system shows. Please take your seat so we can." Before I could finish my sentence, she swung her hand and slapped me hard across the face. The sound echoed through the cabin, and for a moment, everything went completely silent. My cheek stung, and I could feel tears forming in my eyes, but I tried to maintain my composure. The passenger in the seat next to her jumped up. "Male passenger, hey, you can't do that. Karen, stay out of this. She's being rude and unhelpful." That's when my colleague rushed over, along with our head flight attendant. The captain's voice came over the intercom. "Captain, flight attendants to the front, please." Head flight attendant, "Ma'am, you need to come with me right now." "Karen, I'm not going anywhere until someone fixes this seating situation." Head flight attendant, "You just assaulted a member of our crew. We're calling security. Karen, assault? I barely touched her. She's being dramatic. But by then, the airport security was already boarding the plane. I watched as they escorted her off, still arguing and demanding to speak to a manager. The whole time, she kept insisting that she was the victim and that I had been rude to her first. After she was removed, several passengers came up to me to make sure I was okay and offered to be witnesses if needed. One of them was a lawyer who gave me his card and said he'd be happy to help if I wanted to press charges. The best part came later when I found out what happened to her. Not only was she banned from the airline, but airport security discovered she had actually been trying to use a boarding pass for a completely different flight from 2 weeks ago. She'd been trying to scam her way into first class using an old ticket. The police charged her with assault, fraud, and causing a disturbance on an aircraft. Her husband, the lawyer she kept mentioning, ended up being just a public defender she'd met once at traffic court. The whole thing was recorded by multiple passengers, and the video went viral on social media. Meanwhile, I got a commendation from the airline for handling the situation professionally, a bonus, and 2 weeks of paid time off to recover. Sometimes justice really does prevail at 30,000 feet. Story 5. I've been teaching elementary school drama for 12 years now, and I thought I'd seen everything. Kids forgetting their lines, parents complaining about costume costs, the usual stuff. But nothing prepared me for what happened during our spring assembly last month. Let me give you some background first. Every year, our 4th grade puts on a production of The Lion King for the whole school and parents. It's a big deal we spend months preparing, and the kids absolutely love it. This year, we had auditions back in February. All the kids who wanted parts got to try out, and I always make sure everyone gets a role, even if it's just being a tree or a rock. The auditions went really well. One kid stood out immediately for the role of Simba, let's call him Alex. This kid had natural stage presence, could project his voice without shouting, and had clearly been practicing the songs at home. He nailed every part of the audition. Meanwhile, Karen's son, I'll call him Tyler, tried out too. He's a sweet kid, but he was pretty shy during his audition, barely spoke loud enough for me to hear, and seemed nervous about being on stage. I gave Alex the lead role of Simba, and Tyler got cast as one of the young lions in Simba's Pride. It was a good part with several speaking lines and a fun group song. All the kids seemed happy with their roles, including Tyler, who actually seemed relieved he didn't have to carry the whole show. Fast forward to last Tuesday. We were having our dress rehearsal during the school assembly so the other grades could see what we'd been working on. The whole school was gathered in the gymnasium, about 400 kids sitting on the floor, teachers around the edges, and maybe 30 parents who had taken time off work to watch. Everything was going perfectly. The kids were hitting their marks, remembering their lines, and the audience was loving it. We were about halfway through when Alex was in the middle of his big solo number. I just can't wait to be king. That's when the gymnasium doors burst open. Karen came storming in, her heels clicking loudly on the gym floor. Every head in the room turned to look at her. She was dressed like she was heading to a business meeting, not a school assembly, and her face was red with anger. Karen, excuse me. I need to speak to the drama teacher right now. I was standing at the side of the makeshift stage, and I could feel my stomach drop. The music stopped, and Alex just stood there frozen, still in his Simba costume. Me, ma'am, we're in the middle of a performance. If you could please wait until... Karen, no, I will not wait. This is about my son, and it's urgent. The principal, who had been sitting with the kindergartners, quickly stood up and started walking over. The whole gymnasium had gone dead silent. 400 kids were staring at this woman who had just interrupted their show. Karen, my Tyler should be playing Simba. This is completely unfair. You gave the lead role to the wrong child. Me, we can discuss this after the assembly. Right now, we need to continue with the performance for all these children. Karen, these children need to see justice. My Tyler has been practicing that role at home every single day. He knows all the words. He deserves to be the star. At this point, I could see Tyler in the wings with the other young lions, and the poor kid looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. His face was bright red, and he was staring at his shoes. Principal, ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to step outside so we can finish the assembly. Karen, no, you people don't understand. My Tyler is extremely talented. He's been taking voice lessons. He should be front and center, not standing in the background. The principal started walking toward her, but Karen wasn't done. Karen, this other child clearly can't handle the pressure. Look at him just standing there. My Tyler would never freeze up like that. That's when I'd had enough. Alex was 11 years old, standing on stage in front of his entire school, being humiliated by an adult who was supposed to be setting an example. Me, ma'am, Alex is doing exactly what he's supposed to do. He's waiting for the disruption to end so we can continue with the show that these children have worked very hard to prepare. Karen, well, maybe if you knew how to cast properly, there wouldn't be any disruptions. The principal finally reached her and started quietly speaking to her, trying to escort her toward the door. But Karen had one more thing to say. Karen, mark my words, my Tyler will be getting the recognition he deserves. This isn't over. Security arrived, yes. Our school had to call security on a parent during an elementary school assembly, and Karen was escorted out. The whole thing probably only lasted about 3 minutes, but it felt like forever. I got back on the microphone and addressed the kids. Me? Well, that was unexpected. But you know what they say in theater, the show must go on. Alex, whenever you're ready, let's take it from the top of your song. Alex looked at me, took a deep breath, and launched right back into, I just can't wait to be king. The kid was a total professional. The audience burst into applause, and we finished the performance without any more interruptions. After the assembly, Tyler came up to me with tears in his eyes. Tyler, I'm really sorry about my mom. I like being a young lion. I don't want to be Simba. That broke my heart. This kid was apologizing for his mother's behavior. Me, Tyler, you have nothing to apologize for. You're doing a great job as a young lion, and I'm proud of you. But the story doesn't end there. The next day, I got called to the principal's office. Apparently, Karen had spent the evening calling every school board member she could find, demanding that the casting be changed and that I be reprimanded for favoritism. Principal, she's claiming you discriminated against her son because of his family's background. Me, what background? They live in the same neighborhood as most of our families. Principal, she also says you never gave Tyler a fair chance at auditions. I pulled out my phone and showed him the video I always take of auditions for exactly this reason. Me, would you like to see Tyler's audition compared to Alex's? We watched both auditions. It wasn't even close. Alex projected confidence and joy. Tyler could barely be heard and kept looking at the floor. Principal, I'll handle this. Keep doing what you're doing. The school board meeting was the following week. Karen showed up with a folder full of printed emails and what she claimed was evidence of my bias. She demanded 10 minutes to present her case. Karen, this teacher has clearly made up her mind before auditions even started. My son deserves better than this. Then the principal stood up and asked if he could show the board something. He played both audition videos on the big screen. The board members watched in silence. When it was over, the chairwoman spoke. Board chair, ma'am, based on what we've just seen, it appears the casting decision was made fairly and professionally. Karen, those videos could have been edited. This is a conspiracy. That's when another board member chimed in. Board member, ma'am, we also understand you disrupted a school assembly in front of 400 children. That kind of behavior is unacceptable regardless of any concerns you might have. The meeting ended with the board supporting the school's casting decision and issuing Karen a formal warning about disrupting school events. But here's the best part. Our actual performance was the following Friday evening. The whole community comes out for it. It's a really big deal. Karen and her family didn't show up. which was probably for the best. Alex absolutely killed it as Simba. He got a standing ovation. And Tyler? He shined as one of the young lions. During the group number, he was grinning from ear to ear and dancing his heart out. After the show, tons of parents came up to compliment him on his performance. Tyler's dad found me afterward. "Dad, thank you for handling everything so professionally. Tyler's been so much happier since his mom stopped pressuring him about the lead role." Apparently, after the school board meeting, Karen's husband had a serious conversation with her about letting Tyler just be a kid and enjoy theater without all the pressure. The real victory was seeing Tyler discover that he actually loved performing when it wasn't about being the star. He's already excited about auditions for next year's play. Sometimes the best revenge is just letting kids be kids and watching them succeed on their own terms.